Hey guys, it's Joy here. I recently did a blog called How to Be Your Husband's Girlfriend, and it got some good attention. So I thought I would do a video and just share some of the things that I shared on that blog, and maybe it'll inspire you to be a better wife and your husband's girlfriend. So I've been married 32 years to my husband Jim. I got married at 19, so I was really young and had a lot to learn. And I've learned a lot over the last 32 years. Luckily, I had parents that taught me what a great marriage looks like. They were married over 50 years before my mom passed away a couple years ago. And so it was good because they were good role models in my life, and I had people that I could look up to as far as what a good marriage looks like. And I think everybody who's married would agree that a good marriage is something that we all want, because being married to your best friend and doing life with your husband and having fun and having it exciting, it's a gift. It's something that I think everybody would want. So being your husband's girlfriend is one way to just keep the spark in your marriage, and hopefully it won't go stale and stagnant, as of course it will at times, but you want to get out of that rut as quickly as possible. So hopefully I can share some things that I learned that helps you guys have a great marriage. And this video is for the ladies and just us as women, us as wives, just being great wives to our husbands. So I think that you need to think back to how your life was when you were wooing your husband before he was your husband, so he would have been your boyfriend. What did you do as a girlfriend to get this guy to fall in love with you? And I think some things that we did were we doll up, we put makeup on, we dress up, we look nice. So in, uh, your visual presentation is important. You made yourself look nice, and I think as we go into marriage and marriage goes, years and years into your marriage, you tend to stop doing those things, and you think, well, I got the guy, what do I need to look good for? But I think we want our guys to look good, so they want that for us too, especially because they're very visual. So remember how you were as a girlfriend, where you did consider how you looked. So obviously your husband's not gonna love you any less if you walk around in sweats and things, but you do want your husband to think about you. So that's one good way to do that. Men are super easy, generally speaking. I would say, in my experience, men who are married want two things. They want to be respected and they want sex. And there's reasons for both of those things. And let me just share with you what I've learned from my husband. And that is, respect is something that is told to us in Scripture. In Ephesians, it says that we are to respect our husbands and they are to love us. So God knew that he was creating men out of that mold, that they want respect. Now, it's easy to respect your husband when he loves you. It's a lot harder to respect your husband when he's not showing you love. But we're not commanded to respect our husbands only when we're receiving love. So a few ways to show respect to your husband is to speak kindly to him, to not demean him or criticize him, swear at, call names, anything that you would consider disrespect to you. Just don't do that. Don't do that to your husband. It's critical that your husband is not talked to that way, because that will build a wall, and that's a hard wall to break once that's built. Your husband will build that wall. So, especially do not disrespect your husband in front of other people. If you're with a group of friends, refrain from putting your husband down and being critical of him. It really does alter his ego, and that's not what you want to do. Your husband wants to be respected and talked to in a way that you would want to be talked to. So, my husband always says, your delivery solicits a response. And I have been a work in progress in this area, because I am a little feisty and passionate sometimes. So I think sometimes I get a little carried away, and my husband has to point out that the way I'm delivering my message is not going to solicit a very good response. So that's something to keep in mind when you are talking to your husband, that if you use a certain tone or words, they could get them on the defensive. And really, that's silly. Why would we want to do that? So just speak to your husband in a way that you're going to get the response that is desired. As far as sex, this is something that most women know, that that is a desire of men and women, but men is a stronger desire. And I think it's not even just about sex, it's about intimacy and creating a bond with our husbands. So this is an area that you don't want to starve him, and you want to provide and fulfill his needs in the bedroom, but then it extends outside the bedroom. So your husband wants to feel like you're thinking about him. He and you actually want your husband to be thinking about you. So it's giving your husband what he needs, but being a little selfish in the process, but not a bad selfish. So if you are making sure that your husband is thinking about you throughout the day, because you're sending him texts saying how wonderful he is and how you can't wait for him to come home, and thank you for working so hard and taking care of our family and just showing appreciation, he's gonna have you on his mind, and he's not gonna think that he needs to get that kind of love and affection and attention outside the home. So you always want to make sure that your husband's thinking about you. The other thing that I used to do when my husband worked outside of our house and we had little kids and it was chaos, and he'd come home to screaming and crying a lot of times. But I would stop what I was doing and take the time to go to him when he walked through the door and give him a kiss and say hi, and made sure that I was aware of his presence. Sure, many times I would actually hand him a child and say, okay, I need to go finish dinner. But for that 1 or 2 seconds, I made him know that I really cared about him. Of course, now he works from home and I get to see him all the time. So it's a lot different. We're empty nesters and we don't have chaos ensuing all around us all the time. But keeping your husband concerned about thinking of you is something that you did as a girlfriend, right? When you were a girlfriend, you sent him messages and texts or calls, depending on how old you were, because we didn't have cell phones during the dating phase. But I would call my husband and let him know how, or call my boyfriend at the time and let him know how I was thinking about him, and I can't wait to see you tonight. So you're keeping that sweet communication open. And I think that if that ends and you stop doing that, that's when the boring doldrum kind of married days can slip in, because it just, life takes over and you forget about each other. Plan dates with your husband. Make sure that you take time, especially if you have children, that you're focusing only on your husband, and keep the kids with a babysitter, family member, and make sure your husband feels like he's well attended to. Again, that's going back to the dating days, and I'm sure your husband would say that's how he felt when you were dating. Be sweet. Just don't sweat the small stuff. Don't get in a tizzy over nothing. This is something that I learned over time when my husband first married me. I was young and immature and got in a tizzy over silly little things. And there's so much freedom in letting a lot of things slide off your back and just not getting worked up over silly, ridiculous things. It just creates an environment that's much more peaceful. And again, when you and your husband were dating and you were his girlfriend, you didn't yell at each other. At least I hope you didn't. Most couples tend to not do that. They control their emotions a lot more and they can have more conversations that are civil. And somehow, when you get married, you all of a sudden feel like you have this right to raise your voice and yell at your husband. And that's just not how it should be. So be sweet. Be sweet to him. They really appreciate that. The other thing I would say is have a conversation with your husband. So sit down and ask him, hey, babe, how could I be a better girlfriend and a better wife to you? What is it that I do that drives you crazy in a bad way? Like what should I stop doing because it's affecting our marriage or it's something that you don't like? And what can I do more of that you love? And oh my word, just asking your husband that and giving him the freedom to be honest and answer that without feeling like he can't say something or you're going to blow off, fly off the handle. Give him the room to answer that question honestly and learn from it. I mean, don't you want to give your husband what he wants? And hopefully he'll ask the same question back and you'll have the freedom to answer that. So I'm giving you information from my point of view and my experience, but your husband might be different and he might give different things that he likes. So have a conversation and just talk about it. It's it's amazing how like you can get a lot of answers and information just by asking. And there is one caveat to this whole conversation. So, if you are married to an abusive person, somebody who abuses you physically or emotionally or verbally, being sweet and kind isn't going to change him. So, if you are in that environment, in that relationship, that is something that you need to get out of and seek counseling for. So, this conversation would be a whole different conversation if that's the woman that I'm talking to and if that's you that's in that situation. Please, please, please don't think that being sweet and kind and loving to a person who's abusive is going to make him any less abusive, because it won't. So, hopefully, these things will help you and your hubs to have a much more vibrant marriage and that you guys will have a blast, because that's what marriage should be. So, thanks for coming by and listening to me share my experience. And hopefully, I will see you back here again. Thanks.